I was somewhat excited to see Dwayne as Black Adam and thought this would be the next evolution of the DC film universe. It wasn't. Great action, dumb film. That about covers it. Guess I shouldn't have expected anything else from Mr. Fast and Furious and Unfeasible. I'm gonna reenact the movie for you real quick. Are you ready? Oh, Condog needs a hero. I am not a hero. You are not a hero. We are being oppressed. Oh, the humanity. We need a hero. I am not a hero. He is not a hero. There are heroes and there are villains. Okay, I guess I am a hero. The end. This is the type of movie where the script isn't the plot. The script describes the plot. It tells you what needs to happen, how the plot is going to be advanced, how the characters should react. It tells them to tell you what they're thinking. It's like a 2-hour-long pitch meeting. The film wouldn't know subtlety if it hit it in the head. Well, I guess subtlety wouldn't do that. The film wouldn't know subtlety if it remarked how its mother lost weight recently, which would imply that subtlety is screwing its mom. See, it wouldn't get that. This movie was tiring. If I had to describe it in one word, it would be excess. Or better yet, The script, the characters, the plot, the pacing, the editing, and even the fucking score are all things that the film does badly and also in an excessive manner. But even the stuff that it does well, like the action and... yeah, the action is ruined by the movie's lack of restraint. Let's get the 3 good things out of the way. Action, visuals, and humor-ish. Sometimes. Okay, rarely. Mostly action and visuals. Let's start with the action since we already ruffled its feathers a bit. After the millionth depiction of an archaeological expedition gone wrong, seriously, stop it with the bloody tombs, people, it never works out. Black Adam shows up, and what follows is some of the most creative, over-the-top action I've seen in a long time. And this ain't no PG rainbow shit for virgins either. It's full-on atomic sodomization, as Black Adam proceeds to de-virginize entire armies to death without a second thought. The only thing missing would be Shao Kahn belching, "Excellent, outstanding, haha." It's an excellent, effective, creative start that showcases what someone like Superman could do with all his power if you lacked a moral compass. The only problem is it doesn't stop. I'm not kidding. It feels like the initial scene gets stretched out into half the movie, cause then the Justice Abomination of America shows up and more soldiers show up and this dumb fucking kid with an equally dumb fucking mother keep trying to squeeze themselves back into the plot and stubbornly insist on putting their asses in harm's way, so Black Adam saves them, then fights the Justice Tools, then they ally, then they fight again, then the obligatory token diversity sidekicks have a forced romance subplot that goes nowhere, while the epic trailer music refuses to stop for some reason, and by the time you catch your breath, you're completely numb from head to toe, indifferent to the world, such that witnessing a baby deer die of cancer wouldn't move you one bit. Right, positives. Focus. The visuals are nice. DC knows their shit. Well, actually, Zack Snyder knows his shit, the guy they unceremoniously kicked out in not so many words but kept his visual style guide. One of life's many ironies, I'm afraid. Good color grading, great set pieces, is definitely grandiose and ambitious on the visual side. Most Marvel films kinda look like gray poop. DC, on the other hand, aren't afraid to crank up the saturation knob to surreal levels, which I think works to this film's advantage in particular, because after all, it's set mostly in a desert environment, so stripping down the color leaves you with the Dune 2021 problem of having everything resemble the color scheme of an old folks home. And then we have the humor, which a lot of it is forced jokes from the token straight-talking buffoon character, or the Terminator 2 Sean Connor cheap carbon copy, or the fish out of water that is Black Adam, although I guess not so out of water since he speaks perfect English not 2 minutes after waking up from his 5,000-year alcoholic coma. Yes, wisdom of whoever it was, but that's a bit generous and loose and not really explained at all. Speaking of explaining, crap, I'm not done with the humor. Okay, hold that thought. Despite the, once again, excessive idiocy on display from riffing bad joke after bad joke like an amateur comedian on his first open mic stand-up gig, inevitably the film hits a few good ones, to the point where the audience in my cinema audibly chuckled a few times. I'd say the type of humor the film excels at is the more visual, slapstick type, as there is a lot of potential when it comes to Blank Adam's ability to quite literally juggle henchmen in the sky. But there were also a few one-liners that produced a few creepy ha-has from yours truly as well. It's humor for the everyman, much like this whole film. In fact, I can guarantee you 2 things. Number 1, this movie is objectively very bad, and number 2, it'll make a shit ton of money. The paradox of being The Rock. Anyway, you were saying? I was going to segue from explaining shit to exposition. Thanks for ruining it. Because honestly, I don't like to talk about bad exposition. That always seems like the most pedantic thing people do online. But this movie is littered with the most excessive, lazy, poorly conceived exposition I've seen in years. I've already said it, but I'll say it again. This movie tells you everything. It shows you Nothing. And sometimes it tells you and shows you, like when Black Sabbath flashbacks his origin story to you. How cool would it have been if the movie began with Black Adam's backstory instead of fucking talking about his backstory, while showing a short montage with narration in the style of the Justice League film, the non-Snyder cut. It's explicit, it's shown on screen. I get that your demographic is 8-year-olds and the intellectually challenged, but even the lowest percentile of IQ can deduce this much, and that fucking kid. If in minute 2 of the film the kid had gotten trapped in a lunchbox and gotten thrown in the bottom of the ocean never to be heard from for the rest of the flick, it would have improved the movie tenfold. Do not hate me, dear soccer moms, this is far from personal. I hate all token human sidekick audience surrogate characters because all they do is take you out of the experience. But this movie gets extra poopy points because it not only shoves the kid on stage to facilitate a lot of the humor and to clumsily try to garner sympathy from the audience, but it also uses the kid to blatantly make the plot happen. Several times. At one point, Black Adam is just chilling in front of a statue, and the town beneath him is just chilling, going about their day, and what does the lemur with ADHD do? He antagonizes a couple soldiers for no reason. No one was in danger, no one needed saving, nothing was happening. So the movie made something happen, forcing a rescue scene that didn't need to be there in the first place. This is the definition of a toddler playing with his Lego set and running out of ideas. Then, the kid tries to persuade Dwayne Adam to adopt a catchphrase, a moment that both breaks my immersion and reminds me that this is all just a toy commercial, and one that is lifted straight from Terminator 2, where it was done much more organically. I feel like we're getting to the point where movies can quite literally sue each other for abducting increasingly larger parts from one another. And then the kid becomes the main plot device that begrudgingly moves the story to its conclusion, prompting his equally annoying mother, the cringy, morally superior whammon type who tells everyone, including the enemy soldiers, that they should be ashamed of themselves, to go into sacrifice billions in order to save my son mode. Which wouldn't be that bad if it wasn't also incredibly cliche. There is no character development for anyone in this film. Oh, sorry, apart from Black Adam Lambert going from I am not a hero all fucking film long to I am an anti-hero. Very good. What a mouthful. My mind cannot keep up. See that, Nolan? That's how it's done! But yeah, no one evolves. The humans are static, the justice pricks are static, my mind is now static. Speaking of the justice satiety of America, the movie raises a moral quandary that it never resolves, because the justice jocks were never sent to liberate Kahndaq from terrorists all these years, but they were sent to give Black Adam Warlock a good spanking as soon as he showed up. The token humans correctly call them out on their bullshit, and the Justice Sobriety says that it's not that simple, but they never elaborate and this issue never gets resolved. It just slips back into the excessive action and hopes people forget about it. And it's not like the movie was commenting on the dangers of a Bush-like administration, because it completely vindicates Black Madam wiping out every single goon within a 40-mile radius. And try as I might, I can't seem to move on from the anachronistic Just Us society, because they kind of ruined Dr. Fate for me. Not a big Dr. Fate connoisseur, so comic buffs can correct me in the comments, but come on! Isn't Dr. Fate supposed to be a different entity than the guy wearing it? There wasn't any such delineation. They also removed the eyes from the helmet's design, making him resemble the no-faced zombie from Scooby-Doo. Until the very end, that is. For some reason. His power set was kind of underwhelming and poorly defined, and at one point, the wearer uses the helmet's powers without actually wearing it. I mean, why? Eternium goes nowhere. They introduce essentially Black Adam's trademarked version of kryptonite and go to great lengths to show us that he can be harmed by it, and then do nothing with it. The movie flat out forgets Eternium even exists, which expectations subverted, I guess? Way to go, movie. At one point, Noir Adam gets booted out of the film, and the film then proceeds to tease his return for half a fucking hour, milking the moment of Black Adam's return at the climax with enough slow motion to fill an entire Zack Snyder film, even though we all know he's coming back for the final battle. Obviously. Idiots. Speaking of the final battle, it was kind of meh. This is the very definition of premature action ejaculation. Practiculation, because it stuffs all the creative stuff near the beginning of the film and runs out of ideas near the finale. Even the action can't hold the whole thing together on its own is what I'm saying. And the fucking soundtrack never stops. There are moments in this film where two people are just having a simple conversation and the damn trailer music won't shut the fuck up. Come on, Lorne. It just goes on and I can't focus on what the fuck they're saying. Honestly, the pacing, the music, the nonstop mayhem, it all makes it seem like a 2-hour long trailer. which it is, because the main thing that this movie ended up accomplishing is to tease another movie. That is right. Henry Cavill is back as Superman and all but confirms that him and African American Adam will fight in the future, and I feel nothing. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad Henry's back. I just can't muster the serotonin to get excited for these endless sequels that end up being a one-trick pony and killer of most of my expectations. This movie is epic and stupid. Stupid and epic. I can't describe it any better. Actually, I can. I was 2/3 into it, nearing the climax, and as the dad jokes were raging and stuff was exploding and women were screaming and annoying side characters were being annoying and the music was making my tinnitus worse, that's when it hit me, and I said to myself, wait a minute. This is a Transformers movie. It's a fucking Michael Bay film, through and through. I should have just said that instead of writing all this other crap. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. First time around, I did enjoy watching the Transformers films. Kind of. This is the kind of film you watch to de-stress and vent your rage so that you don't go hang your boss and burn down your workplace. And truth be told, I might have gone out to see it even if I knew how abysmal it was going to be, because I was starved for a bit of masculine mayhem and itching for some guilt-free, brain-dead action to distract me from the fact that we're all gonna die for nothing one day. If this describes you, then Whack Adam might be for you. Much like drinking half a bottle of Jack, though, it will hurt your brain, so fair warning. It's funny, because at the time of recording, I almost finished torturing myself with She-Hulk, which is mostly a female-targeted ad filled with slice-of-life bullshit where fuck all goes on, and I'm praying for something, anything, any sort of action to happen, and then I go watch this shit, which is the exact opposite. A non-stop, over-the-top, testosterone-fueled blob of mind-numbing action that's essentially the last half hour of Man of Steel stretched into a whole movie. A little balance would be nice, is what I'm trying to say. Look, I couldn't bring myself to enjoy the movie very much, but at the same time, I do somewhat admire DC for what they're doing, because they finally found the foresight to cater to not one, but two types of audiences. The type that like to watch darker, more serious stuff, like Joker and the Batman, and the type that just want to see some explosions, then go home and fuck their wives. Or get fucked by their wives, you never know nowadays. And this sounds like common practice and far from revolutionary business, but it's more than Marvel are doing, since they are currently doing everything in their power to cater to only one very specific demographic, at the expense of the fan base that they've already built and have now completely alienated. But we're not here to judge business strategies, we're here to judge Black Beauty. I mean Betty. I mean Adam. And I judge I don't really care. You've figured out by now if you want to spend the money or not. Okay, bye. Back to She-Hulk. Ugh.